Tammy,
Good morning, Tom.
how are you doing this morning?
I'm really good, really good. You?
I'm very well, thank you. All the better for talking to you, although it is the last in our four-part series for Stress Awareness Month 2021. For those that might just be joining in at part four, who are you, Tammy? Just give a very brief overview as to what you are and why we've been talking to you this month of all months.
So my name is Tammy, and I'm a mindfulness, wellbeing, and relaxation specialist. I'm passionate about mental health everywhere and anywhere. I've been joining Tom for the last, four Thursdays because it's Stress Awareness Month to talk about mindfulness and self-care.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And of those, we've had a different theme each week. And we started off with toxic positivity. And then we moved into the new different. And my mind's gone completely blank whilst I'm talking to you now. What was last week?
We did reverse SAD, so seasonal
That's right.
disorder.
Yes, seasonal affective disorder, which, as I pointed out last week, most people, or certainly myself, talking for myself, I always associated it with the winter months. But of course, you put on the overwhelming pressure of what the summer months can do to people that have a form of sad seasonal affective disorder as well. And it was very good for those people that might feel not ready in the summer months anyway, to feel that they weren't alone in that, and that maybe they could talk about it a little bit more and say, this is why I feel this way when the summer months come. And just putting a name on things is often the first step, isn't it?
It is, it's recognising, and it's not like going back to sad, reverse sad, summer sad. It's not just kept for the darker, shorter days of the winter. It's right through, which makes it worse for some people.
Yeah, definitely. And this week it's the last in the series, so we've thrown open this session, this conversation, for any other points that people wanted to talk about. So if you're listening to this on the radio, or you're watching this on Facebook, let us know in the comments whether there's anything that you want to pick Tammy's brains about. Now, we've had people approach us in the last 7 days anyway, asking us about different bits and pieces. And one thing that struck me is how similarly aligned a lot of anxieties are for people, and how a lot of stress, like, it's universal and people are impacted by it in different ways, but it's usually on similar themes. And one of the things that you've been approached about was very similar to the concept of the new different that we talked about the other week. And it's kind of like, well, now that we've gone through the new normal with the lockdowns and now we're coming back into the open world, what are we allowed to do with each other?
Yeah, it's. I've been approached by several clients, and we've been talking about the new social etiquette.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do? There's that. Do we hug? Do we fist pump? Do we handshake? Is it elbows? What do we do? And that creates anxiety in itself. We're playful with it, but the underlying theme is there is anxiety there.
Yeah, and particularly because with what we're seeing on TV at the moment, where lots of dramas that have been filmed in the last couple of months, and we see our sports teams as well, they're all getting together, and when they score a goal, they're hugging, and it's like, oh, well, they're allowed to, so does this mean that I'm allowed to? But I don't feel ready to do that. So we're getting this warped sense of, we've got a TV reality where a lot of it is filmed COVID safe, where they've got screens between them, or they're filming sometimes like on other parts of the room. It's the trick of the camera. And then you get these sports teams that are bubbling, particularly with the Six Nations that happened. Like those players didn't see their families to allow that to happen. So it's, what are we allowed to do, and how much time should we spend thinking about it? Because that's where the stress and anxiety comes from, isn't it? It's how much of a deal we make out of it.
It is, but it's not. We can't tell someone not to think about it. We're human, so in our very existence, it's that overthinking that some of us do. Because we're going into this kind of new different that we spoke about a few weeks ago, and people have been vaccinated now. More and more people are becoming more vaccinated. Sorry, we're not wearing labels to say I've been vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So that ties into that social etiquette of what we do when we go out and we see friends or acquaintances or we meet new people.
Mm-hmm.
It's overthinking about what we do now.
Yeah, and there is a sense of an us and them now, isn't there? Where people are vaccinated, everyone's taking their selfies with their vaccination cards, and you've got people that are still waiting that really want it. You've got those that are still on the fence because of what they've read and side effects that their family members may have had, and also for religious grounds and other reasons why people can't have it, maybe ill health grounds, the allergies that we were made aware of. So there's this us and them, which is going to make it even more difficult to integrate, particularly with pubs opening outdoors now. I managed to sit and have a rest on the riverside and enjoy a drink myself. And someone who I've worked with for a long time came up to me and was like, "Oh, I need to elbow bump you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And then all of a sudden, you're elbow bumping someone that you've never even met before, let alone someone who you were already acquainted with. And the thought process happens so quickly. So what can we do when those thoughts become a little bit overwhelming?
Well, we can open ourselves up to something called secondhand stress, which is a really great terminology, where we actually take on board perhaps other people's stresses.
Right.
And in the first instance, it's to identify where that stress is coming from. So putting yourself in that situation, for you, there's a bit of kind of confusion or anxiety about what to do. I'm naturally a hugger, so I want to go and hug people, but obviously can't do that.
No, same here.
Yeah, so it's writing our own new rules, and understanding that everyone else is thinking the same thing.
And I suppose that everyone else is thinking the same thing, but it's like when this first came around, it was we're all in the same storm, but we're in different boats, and we're all coming into this new world, this new different, and we are in the same world, but we're still in our own boats. And what I'm comfortable with might be not the same as someone else who's comfortable with hugging. Like there might be huggers out there who are out there right now being, "Come here, bring it in, bring it in." It's like, whoa, I haven't been vaccinated yet. This is a bit much. And I suppose talking about what we did, what we've talked about the last couple of weeks, it's being quite strong and quite clear in your communication as to what you are comfortable and are not comfortable with. Is that fair to say as well?
Yeah, and not to take it personally. You know, if someone comes up and they want to hug or they want to handshake, and you don't want to, or vice versa, you know, you can flip it and to say no. Learning these new rules, and it does come back to what we do now in this kind of new world that we're in terms of some of us vaccinated, some of us not. But it's at the same time, at the heart of this, stress awareness meant it's about being mindful, it's about self-care. I come back to secondhand stress. As humans, we will take on other people's emotions, whether it's consciously or subconsciously. It's what we do. It comes down to mirror neurons. Again, as humans, we like to copy other people. You're walking down, it's difficult now with masks. But beforehand, you could walk down the street and someone would smile at you, and a majority of us would smile back, release wonderful endorphins, oxytocin, all those lovely hormones, happy hormones. You flip it and you've got someone who's sad or looks grumpy. There's a good chance that we're going to copy that, and that's the emotion that we're going to have in that moment.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. And much of like communication isn't in what we say; it's in our body language. And as you've just said, like our most kind of inviting feature of our faces, our smiles and our connectedness and our eyes, they're all being concealed at the moment. And that's going to be hard for us to replicate then when we walk down the street. Because not only that, we've got people, we were actively encouraged to cross the road. We were actively encouraged to, if you're able to walk down the road to maintain that 2 meter distance. We've had a year of avoiding people, which means our communication signals are all jammed at the moment as well. And you brought something up just a second ago, which is radically important. It's don't take things personally. We do think, each and every one of us thinks that the world revolves around us, and to a certain extent it does. But when other people collide into our worlds, we don't need to take that on as a personal affront, do we? It's not actually anything to do with us, how someone else is reacting.
No, and we only have control over ourselves. We have control over our emotions, our reactions, our actions. I can't control other people or what they're thinking or how they're behaving, but I do have that choice when it comes to how I respond to them. And that's the important part, because when we are in control, not only are we more relaxed, we're calmer, we make the better decisions. We're not stressed. We are mindful. And that's so important. We've touched on this over the past, 3 sessions.
Yeah. And you mentioned a few times now about secondhand stress. And of course, that can happen in any world, whether that was pandemic hit or not, where people that are maybe having difficulty in their relationships, difficulty in work, and every time you talk to them, they start stressing about, I didn't do that right, and my boss hasn't been very nice, and I tried playing football today and I wasn't very good. And all of a sudden we start taking on all these worries and cares from other people, and we actually stop caring about ourselves. What advice do you have for those kind of empaths, if you will, people that are naturally inclined to feel the emotions of other people, to actually separate how we're feeling?
Oh, it's easier said than done, isn't it? When we're people pleasers by nature, if that's our characteristic, to worry, to look after people, it's very easy to say, stop it, don't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But we know we can't.
No.
If we think of people in the health profession, social care, there is that overwhelming feeling to want to feel for clients, but at the same time, we don't want to feel like them. So it's that recognizing, but not actually taking on that emotion ourselves. So again, it comes back to not taking it personally. It's about being in control. It's about separating ourselves from that person or that event. And it's about for us, sorry.
Yep, that's fine. And what techniques can we have to separating those thoughts? Because I know that thoughts happen. Like we're not in control of what thoughts come to us. So if we do feel like we have a yearning to help and a yearning to feel as they're feeling, what techniques are there that we can use to separate us from those anxious thoughts? And of course, these techniques would probably help with any thought that we're having, not just taking on the thoughts of other people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about us being in control of us. I will always come back to that. It's about doing things that you enjoy, and it's about recognizing. It's about recognizing if there's a problem and then looking for the solution.
Mm-hmm.
As people, we want to care for other people, but it's about making time for us. Just this month is about stress awareness. It's about engaging in positive activities, interacting positively with other people, making time for ourselves. And it always comes back to talking and listening. Never stop talking, never stop listening to neighbours, friends, family, etc.
Yeah. And also to yourself. And I suppose writing could help with that as well. If you're just saying, why am I feeling anxious and why am I feeling a bit stressed? I know I'm going to write a letter to myself. Is that something that you would advocate for?
Yes, yeah. I mean, our minds knows us more than we know ourselves. If we're writing down things, it's great because we're offloading.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't want to keep going back to reread it.
No.
Because when we're rereading it, we'll create more anxiety because reading negative emotions. If you want to write other things down, write positive things down, write good things that happened in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Encourage us to
really
get the positive part of the brain.
Yeah, that's fantastic, because where you set your sights, that's where you're going to keep looking for them in the future as well, because you start looking for all those positive moments and those little moments that fill us with a bit of joy and a bit of gratitude, even amongst the bad things that are going on around as well. We can still find our little doses of joy. Now, before we wrap up, Tammy, because I'm going to ask you to kind of summarize your highlights over the last 4 weeks and like your one message going forward. I just want to let the listeners know, and anyone that's viewing on Facebook, that this is your last 60 seconds essentially to ask Tammy a question. And if you don't make it in time, Tammy is available. Her social media handle is there on the screen as well. It's at Tammy_Foley. That's your Twitter handle, isn't it? But you're also on Facebook, and you've got the website as well, which we'll share as well. So now's the time to write in the comments or to get in touch. But Tammy, what's your biggest takeaway message from each of these 4 sessions that we've had?
It's about being an advocate. It's about talking about your feelings. It's about checking in on friends. It's about making sure you've got the resources within you to look after yourself and to look after your loved ones. If we stop talking, then the mental health situation is going to get bigger and bigger. We need to be unsilent. So whether we reach out to a therapist, whether we reach out to a GP, whether we just talk to friends, And also the other part is to remember that we're all going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's okay not to be okay. I can't stress that enough. It's okay not to be okay. That should be on a t-shirt. I should have worn that today, actually.
I'll have some made up, I think.
Oh.
Liz Talbot's been in touch. Great sessions, Tammy Foley and Pure West. Thank you. And please do more. So we'll have to see when we'll have to get Tammy back on. We'll have to make you some form of regular feature. Oh, in fact, I do believe that we used to do a healthy heart, healthy mind show. So who knows whether there can be a slot there for you. So Tammy, your biggest takeaway: we got to keep talking, because these thoughts in our head, they're massive. But once we start talking about them, they actually deflate and shrink in size and in importance and significance, because all of a sudden we hear them out loud, and it's like, oh yeah, it might not actually be as like life limiting as I thought. And Helen Marie, thank you both. I've enjoyed listening to you both the last 4 Thursdays on the way to work. So thank you so much for your time, Tammy. I've loved these Stress Awareness Month sessions with you, and it would be great if we'll see what the next couple of weeks brings, particularly as we move into our new reality, which is deliberately poised as that, because the next song we've got on is Back to Life, Back to Reality, from Soul to Soul, featuring Karen Wheel. Tammy, thank you so much for joining us on Early Breakfast on Pure West Radio. All these interviews are still available on our podcast at purewestradio.com. And all the videos on Facebook are still available on Facebook. So if you know someone that might be having difficulty with their thoughts, share this link with them, tag them in the comments, and let them know that it's okay not to be okay. And that if they talk just a little bit, even if it's uncomfortable and it's awkward, the best thing to do is to just start somewhere. It might not be perfect, but the outcome should really be helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tammy. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Back to life.